Good morning. I'm Otis, Cunningham, the pastor at the Ebenezer Church here in Central City, and we count it a blessing to welcome you to our campus today. Some of the grandest people have come through those doors of Ebenezer, and thank God that you are one of them today. And so as we gather together today to exchange wisdom, we pray that God will just overshadow each and every clinician, and that when you leave this place, you'll be able to say, boy, there was a sweet, sweet spirit in this place, and that we have been blessed. So have a good time, and may God bless you real good. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Cunningham. I appreciate you all hosting the Rural Urban Exchange event here this weekend. My name is Mark Brown. I'm with the Kentucky Arts Council. It's your state arts agency, which is also a partner of the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange. We have worked a long time to with Savannah and the teammates to present this weekend, and it's been we've been really looking forward to this day to get back together. So I want to thank the church for hosting this conversation today. We're going to learn a lot about rural Black excellence in Kentucky and in Muhlenberg County. So I want to make sure you all are aware that the folks here in this room today are from all over the Commonwealth, from McCracken County to Pike County. So it's exciting to pull people together to listen to stories and dream and imagine new ways of being as well. So we're going to do what's called a narrative stage, and if you've been to RUX before, then you probably know what a narrative stage is, but it is one of the many modes of presentation that folklorists use to pull people together, maybe from a similar community or from different communities or cultural groups, to talk about what's important to them and stories of their life. And it's a great way to bring people together and listen to one another and think of new directions and new ideas as well. Every narrative stage is different because it's going to take on its own life, just like a conversation will. But the focus will be on the stories of the folks at the table here around me today. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Brittney Hernandez-Stevenson. Hey, Ian. And Roger Frazier. And this is Helena Bomer here next to me. And then to my left and your right is Sonya Smith. So we're so glad you all could join us today. And we're going to talk about past and future African American communities of Muhlenberg County. The topic will kind of focus around Drakesboro High School as well. And we're going to spread out from distant history to more recent history, and then imagining where people are going next. So if we could start with, let's just, would y'all want to introduce yourselves? Just say a little bit about yourself, starting with Dr. Hernandez-Stevenson.
So most of you met me last night, but I grew up here in Muhlenberg County. I was born in Sheffield, Alabama. My parents are not from here. My mom is from Tampa and my father is from Huntsville. So my experience here in Muhlenberg County has been different from some of the others in the panel just because of the times that we grew up. I did grow up in Browder. I know last night there was a lot of talk of Greenville and Central City, but Browder is one of these little bitty places way out that you don't hear much about. I've enjoyed living in Muhlenberg County. I mentioned that I'm also the director for the Muhlenberg campus, running for state representative for this district, first African American to do so, so that's a big deal here in the county, and involved in a lot of the boards as far as the community goes. Pretty much any board or any club that you can think of, I think I'm part of it somehow. I told y'all I can't say no.
My name is Roger Frazier. I'm a Muhlenberg County native all my life. I lived in Drakesboro, so I know quite a bit about Drakesboro and things going on. And I don't think my life was interesting, but I don't mind sharing what I've been through. But yeah, Reverend Cunningham asked me to come, and then I spoke with Mark, so I said, yeah, I'll be glad to come and maybe share some experiences that I've had. That's it.
Okay. Can any good thing come out of Browder? Dr. Hernandez, I want to let you know that I'm from Browder. And I'm proud of it. Yes, my name is Helena Bomer, and I grew up in Browder. I got my spiritual education foundation at Browder Chapel Baptist Church, a little church on the hill. And we used to call it the Holy Ghost place. And I attended Drakesboro Community High School. Back then, it was grades 1 through 12. And I attended my whole 12 years at Drakesboro Community High School.
And as you mentioned, you were a 1961 graduate?
Yeah, I graduated in 1961.
When I talked to her on the phone the other day, she pointed out that's the same upside down as it is right side up.
Yeah.
What college is it? Sonya?
Okay. First of all, I haven't heard a word they said. I'm an old person, and they don't like to wear hearing aids. So my mother always told me that I talk loud because I couldn't hear. So it's worse at 82. I am 82 years old. I am so proud to have 2 of my classmates here, Estelle Goins and Gwinnetta Murphy. We marched down the aisle together 64 years ago. So now our education is older than you are. It's a pleasure to be here. I've lived out of the county most of my life. I do a lot of writing. I can do constructive writing. I can do destructive writing. But I'd like to share some things with you that I write. The first one I think is real cute. Dear Lord, so far today, God, I've done all right. I haven't gossiped. I haven't been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or overindulgent. I'm very thankful for that. But in a few minutes, God, I'm about to get out of bed. And from then on, I'm going to need an awful lot of help. Amen. The first thing that I've written, and I'm a Drakesboro Community High graduate, 1958. That's why our education is older than you are. My father, are you through with me? No, my child. I've given you an extended warranty. You were put on this earth to make history. That's why I'm extending your warranty. Kind words spoken, kind deeds done has truly been your focus. You were always a very special one. You sought out the needs of others and helped make them feel good about themselves. For over 40 years, you have given so much to so many. My extended warranty will enable your good works to continue for a while longer. Yes, you've been very ill. I have witnessed you walking through the valley of the shadow of death, preparing to take your last breath. When the extended warranty department opened and energized a fallen soldier. My child, your work on earth is not completed. I still have more for you to do. You can start by improving your efforts toward me, and I'll find lots of things for you to do. I give all praises and honor to God above. I know that you all pray for me and I know that I am surrounded by love. My Father, are you finished with me? No, my child. I've given you an extended warranty. Thank you.
All right.
And the next one is an audience participation project. And it's called, But Guess What? You one of them now. And this goes back from my teenage years up to getting old. Remember, I'll give you a cue and you'll say, you're one of them now. But guess what? You're one of them now. Remember, when you had game, wasn't thinking about a cane. You figured you'd always never be lame. But guess what? You're one of them now. Hey, picture this. High heel shoes are a thing of the past. You should have known they wouldn't last. The flatter, the better. Lends better support. A fall on any surface could end up in court. Slip-ons, string-ups, or Velcro all make it possible for you to go. But guess what? You're one of them now. Imagine when you could hear a pin fall. Now without a hearing aid, you can't hear nothing at all. But guess what? You're one of them now. Can you recall when sunglasses were only for style? But now, bifocals, trifocals make your vision worthwhile. But guess what? Remember when toothpaste and floss were made to make your smile complete? Now it takes polygrip to tighten up your teeth. But guess what? Reflect back when wheels were made for moving stuff. But now you're part of the stuff to be moved. Wheelchairs, canes, beds, IVs, and walkers are part of the elite. It takes all of this equipment to make your life complete. But guess what? You're one of them now. Remember when your hair was all black? You didn't even need dye or tracks? But now your hair is all white, and wearing a hat is a simply delight. But guess what? And if all of the above is not enough, along comes Medicare Dear, Medicare D. How much more can we endure without having a complete diet of Ensure? But guess what? In spite of it all, we serve a true and living God who supplies our needs. He's watching all of our acts and all of our good deeds. But guess what? Better than that, I'm glad to be a part of them now. Humbly submitted by me. All for now, but I do write constructively. I can write destructively, editorials, gossiping, whatever you want to hear, I'm capable of doing. And it all came from a 4-room high school. Yes, I'm a college graduate, but my education came from the University of Hard Knocks. It taught me so much more. And when you can add education to frustration and make it and live in 5 or 6 different states, meet people from everywhere, work with people from everywhere, that's what makes you complete. You know, they often ask me, Mama Sonya, what did you do as a teenager? I said, everything. Well, name some of the things. I said, well, first of all, we always liked boys from another town. They had no way to get over here, so they came the best way they could in a clunker. The gas back then cost 25 cents a gallon. The car wasn't worth 15 cents, and we'd have to help push it off the hill to get it going. But we had a good time. And they talk about rappers. Did they have rappers during your time? I said, sure they did. They had Little Richard. They had Chuck Berry. You know, who can remember Ring Ring Goes the Bell, the teacher's ready, the cookie's ready to sell? We did. That was our form of rapping. Now, as older people, we don't even want to hear what you have to say. It's insignificant. You can't hear it, and you can't repeat it. So we had a good time. We were poor. I wrote a poem about our country education and what our teachers tried to do for us. Everything is not in the schoolroom, and you will learn that through the University of Hard Knocks. If you haven't had your share, you will. It will come through your employment. It will come through your family. It will come through some churches. It will come from everywhere. It takes all of that to make a complete human being, not just book sense. And I hold this book with pride. This is a book that my math teacher wrote on an Underwood typewriter back in the 50s and 60s, and it's called A Black History Around Muhlenberg County. It's the most complete book on black history in this county that you're going to find. She typed it with 2 fingers, left and right. And we'd ask her, Miss Leslie, what's this book for? She said, one day you'll understand. And I do. To open this book and see my picture, to see Reggie Warford's picture, and I do have clippings. I'm an organized pack rat. I hoard, but it's organized. So they won't have to burn my house down. They can find what they're looking for. And would you believe a resident from this community is now named, a school is named in his honor in Shelbyville, Kentucky, the Marnell C. Mormon School. This little boy was raised down the street at 510 North 1st Street. And he rose to the level of having a school named in his honor. I have cousins. We created a wall. Since we don't have a museum, we have a wall of Drakesboro Community High School. What it has done for not only this nation, but for this country, but for the world. We have people that are in all kind of, there were only 417 graduates. And out of that, we have over 200 people that are college bound, college degree. I finally got to the point, well, if you can go fishing and catch a fish, we'll put your picture on the wall. And we did. But we have people that work in the FBI. They work all over the country. Everybody's not in a jail looking through cells. We have people that have been monumental and that other people are looking up to. And I hope today that you gain something that we have passed on to you and that you will pass it on to somebody else. Amen.
Thanks so much, Ms. Sonya. I want to talk to you more about your creative writing in just a minute, but I also want to hear from our other panelists. So you said of the 417 people who graduated from...
4-7, and it's in print. This book cannot be purchased. Most libraries in the state should have it. There was a reprint of it. This one is actually autographed by the author. I don't let it out of my sight because it walks. It talks. It tells the whole story of who we are and what we're all about.
So I think Helena and Roger, y'all are among those 417 as well, right? Were you graduates of the Drakesboro High School?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't Drakesboro Community. I went grades 1 through 9.
Okay, yeah. Sonya, can we hear from you about Drakesboro High School? What are some of your memories of the school and maybe some heroes or inspirations while you were going there?
Me? Okay. Yes, I can compare to everything that Sister Sonya has said, because she was in the class of 1958 and I was in the class of 1961. And we both had the same teachers. And Miss Leslie Smith, one she's talking about, she was a great inspiration to us. And like Sonya said, yeah, she's on that typewriter, but she was writing that book. And she wanted us, she stressed education, education. So many of our teachers stressed education. We may not have a lot, but they took small things and made a lot out of it. We received used textbooks. We didn't receive all that we were supposed to have, but they took that little and they expressed to us education, education. And like I was talking to Mark yesterday, I said we every other year, instead of having a junior and senior prom, one year we went on trips. And during those years, back in the, think of this, y'all probably can't comprehend, the early 50s and 60s, your parents can. But in the early 50s and 60s, we went on trips, not just in the county. We went on trips to Washington, D.C. We went to New York City. We went to Philadelphia. Some of the classes even went to Canada back then. Can you imagine? In the early 50s and 60s, we were exposed to all of that. We came out, in my class, it was like about 17. And when she spoke about Marnell Mormon, he was my classmate. And, I enjoyed my days at Drakesboro Community High School. And we have school reunions every 2 years. We would get together, and everybody that went to Drakesboro Community High School and their descendants, they would come to the reunions. So, but since the pandemic, we have not had one since 2019. But like I said, we were just so many memories there at Drakesboro Community High School. And I wouldn't trade my days at Drakesboro Community High School for any other school. And like I said, I started there in the first grade. And my first teacher was Miss Lisa. Everybody called her Miss Lisa. And the school was established in 1930. And it closed in 1964. And like Winetta and Estelle, they lived in Greenville. So Estelle, you came to Drakesboro in the 7th grade, right? And Winetta, did you come in the 7th? So they came from Greenville in the 7th grade. One high school for us in the whole county. We had 2 bus drivers. We had 2 buses. And they had to go all over the county to pick up the kids to bring them to school. Now, like Sonya, she lived in Central City. You came to Drakesboro in the 9th grade. But I lived in Broward. So, big city of Broward.
Big city.
So,
Y'all see it, just wait.
So the people in Broward and close up the mic. I'm so short.
And you talk soft.
I know. And I got to the point now, I drive like an old person. When I'm driving, I'm looking over the steering wheel, so I'm probably looking over the mic. That's good. Okay. Are you all hearing me? But anyway, okay, yeah, like I said, we had 2 school buses for the whole county to pick up all the kids all over the county. And we got there at 8 o'clock. School started at 8 o'clock. And like I said, Miss Macy, our first grade teacher, she taught there from 1930 to 1964 when the school closed. And let's see. Oh, and our basketball teams, we allotted so many minutes. I don't want to take up nobody else's time. But our basketball teams, we didn't play in Muhlenberg County. We couldn't play in Muhlenberg County. Our boys had played in Owensboro, Henderson, Madisonville, Earleton, Elton, Russellville, Bowling Green, Franklin, Horse Cave, Paducah. Even they would go to Lincoln Institute. That's up around Louisville. But they couldn't play here in Muhlenberg County. But I had a book that this man had written about the ball teams, and we was in the East 3rd region. And a picture of our ball team, all these ball teams from all over these, did I say Elton and Earleton? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it had pictures of all these ball teams back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, and I had left it in Louisville with my son. I was gonna bring it, be a show and tell like Sister Sonya over here.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
You mentioned the basketball teams having to travel, or the players having to travel to
Yeah,
play in different
play.
teams. Was that a result of
Segregation, yeah, result of segregation, yeah. We couldn't play in the county, so segregation, we had to travel. And we had a wonderful basketball team back in the day. Yeah, we had good times then.
What other challenges like that? So we talked about some of your like inspirations and the people who influenced you as young people and students. What were some of the other challenges? Roger, would you like to talk about some of your early heroes maybe in your community or your neighborhood?
In my community, my neighborhood, my best hero was my father, Earl Frazier. He's the one I credit to getting me to the position that I'm at now, because of what he had to go through and how he prepared his oldest son for life. He knew what I would experience, and so he tried his best to tell me, to teach me my morals and my integrity, and I try to pattern my life after him. Speaking of Drakesboro community, I attended 1st grade through the 9th grade there, and I loved all of my teachers. And what I appreciated about them is they knew what I would experience moving forward in my life. And they tried their best to prepare each and every one of us for what we would face. Now, they struggled to get to the point where they were, to be educators and teachers, and they would let us know what it would take to get to that position. They had a lot more trouble getting to that point than the next generation would. And so they tried to prepare us for what was ahead and let us know that we needed to pass on our knowledge, our experiences to the next generation, so the times that they had wouldn't be as rough as ours. And that was one of my father's mantra as well. He let me know what he had to deal with, and he dealt with a whole lot more than I did. But I never heard him complain. He did what he had to do he had raised a family. He was ex-military, and he really did a lot that I won't tell you guys about. You can find it. It's in different places in the county registry and county history. So, but I knew what it would be like growing up in a segregated society. I experienced that, but to deal with it and with my experiences, it came from a background at Drakesboro Community High School. They really prepared us as best they could for life in Muhlenberg County and other places, because it definitely wasn't easy in the late 50s, early 60s, and some of the panel these ladies know what I'm talking about. But they gave us the determination, gave us the encouragement to strive to be the best people that we could be, because they knew what it would take for us to get anywhere in life. So, and I appreciated that from them, from my teachers.
And I believe, Roger, I think your dad's name is in that book. He graduated, it's Mr. Earl Frazier. He graduated class of, what class was his dad in?
1936.
Class of 36, his dad was in the class of 36.
And Roger, you mentioned your dad was military, and then you were as well. Was Was that an easy decision for you to go into the military, or was it?
Not really.
No.
It was during I finished high school in 1967. I went to vocational school in Paducah, graduated in 1969. And the Vietnam War was going strong, hard and heavy. And I was about to be drafted into the Army in January of '70. And I didn't want to go in the Army because I figured that I might just be carrying a gun. And I had seen friends and relatives who lost lives in Vietnam. Those that survived came back. They had emotional problem. I think now they call it the PTSD. We didn't know what it was then, and I didn't want that for me because I led a sheltered life to a certain extent, and I figured if I got thrown into the middle of that, I don't know where I would be. So
I'd like to speak on something else too. Speaking of segregation back in the day, if when you view our walls out here that we have created, there's one teacher's name on there, Mrs. Carrie Smith Harris. We have her actual college degree on the wall. And it says she graduated from Kentucky State in 1923. And it says, you are now capable of teaching colored children. That's on her degree. We had home economics back then for the black schools. It was called NHA, the Negro Homemakers Association. They had FHA for the White Homemakers Association. The sports went rampant because our boys could play ball. They played all over the state. I had a brother that passed away recently, but he was offered positions at Purdue. But we knew him. If Bobby Knight had thrown a chair at him, he'd thrown one back at him. But he was a very good ball player. We had to buck segregation to look good. We had to participate in national activities based on race. We had to play basketball based on race until the schools came together to allow them to play together. I could name all of our players that played excellently, but they played. I have my brother's ball, I should have brought it, that was awarded to him in 1962 from playing basketball. We had our own set of rules and regulations that we followed. Those that wanted to read, write, dance, the lady over there, Miss Tutt, dance at everything. She can still dance. She can't do nothing else, she can dance. And she keeps herself all right. I said, Pig, when you been to the dance? I went the other night, and I danced good. But we listened, all we had was a jukebox. Nobody had anything else to play. Churches in the South were partially, if you read the history, responsible for rock and roll. Because when the churches closed up from church, the Sam Cooke and all the rest of them used their instruments. They played their pianos, their organs, their drums. All we had to play was a kettle full, some pots and pans, or whatever, but we made music and we made dance.
Thank you all. And Brittney, I wanted to turn it over to you. Did you have stories from growing up in Drakesboro? And I thought you might also have some insightful.
No, my stories are nothing like this. Y'all don't want to hear from me.
Well, as more of a Muhlenberg County insider as well, I thought you might have some questions you'd like to ask our peers here on the panel.
Yeah, I know that you all did talk about some of how your teachers prepared you, and I do want to say thank you, because a lot of the people in this room, you know, you all went through a lot of different things that I've never had to experience and that I won't have to experience, but because of you dealing with those challenges, you know, I say thank you, because you all did it so that my generation and the generations to come won't have to experience some of those things. So thank you all for that. But you talked about some of the people that inspired you, and I guess we'll continue on and talking about some of the obstacles, because you talked about, like, Mr. Frazier, you talked about how your dad and some of your teachers helped you with some of the things, or helped you to think about or prepare you for some of the things that you may face. Do you all want to talk about some of those experiences? I went to Drakesboro, but I went to Drakesboro Elementary School, so mine was different. But I did go to school in Drakesboro. I grew up going to church in Drakesboro as well. So I'm familiar with the Drakesboro community, but if you all will share kind of some of the things that you faced and how as a community you came together, and how some of the community members in Muhlenberg County helped you to get through some of those challenges.
Well, in Drakesboro, it was like the saying, it takes a village. We, as kids growing up, if some of the older people, the adults, saw us doing something, then you got told on. And some of them could actually whip you, and then when you got home, you got another whipping. So they kept an eye on us, and it helped a lot of us to stay in line. And for me, I was embarrassed when I had to go home and somebody called my parents and told them what I had done. And I think that probably more than the punishment, the whippings, bothered me more, because my father, as I said, who was my hero, he went through so much to get us to where we were that I was embarrassed to even go before him and have something like that. And he had to talk to me about it. So it was a community effort with people there at Drakesboro, because everyone knew everyone. And they would cheer you. Didn't have a problem calling your parents. At Drakesboro Community School, it was the same way. I can remember going home and the phone ringing after school, and it was either Miss Bibbs or Miss Blondie calling my parents, guess what Roger did today? And guess, I got it. But that helped shape me into the person that I should have been all along. When you're a kid, you don't think about that. Mischief is in you, and I don't know if I don't see anyone in here close to me in our class, but I graduated in 1967. But you ask anyone that went to school with me, they'll tell you, I was a cut up. But I enjoyed it, but in the long term, they tried to teach us, tried to mold us into good citizens of the county, good citizens of Drakesboro, and that carried over. And I was in the first wave of students that integrated Drakesboro High School in 1964. I was a sophomore. And the transition was really smooth, and the teachers there took an interest in us almost as much as the teachers at Drakesboro Community High School. So I graduated from there in '67, and they encouraged us to move on to college and other things that would help us in life. But our transition was really smooth because a lot of the people in Drakesboro knew each other. We would play together as kids all summer long, and in the fall, I would go to community, they would go to consolidated. So we finally got to the same school after '64, and so we stayed that way. And Helena was talking about it, Drakesboro Community, we had books that were handed down. We didn't get new books to Drakesboro Community. And I remember an anecdote about that. When I went to Drakesboro High School, I met some of the people whose names were in my book. And I would tell them, I said, nice to meet you. I know your name, but now I get to put a face to a name. English textbooks, math books. And I remember one year I got one that was really nice because this lady had circled the answers in the back of the book. So when I met her, I was certain to get her thanks for getting the answers.
Yeah, Roger, like you said, your parents knew you was cutting up down the road, they would call. Now, a lot of times, back then in our days, you may not have a telephone, but your parents, when you got home, they knew you'd been cutting up down the road somewhere.
Absolutely.
And you wonder, how did they know so quick that you'd been cutting up down the road? But, like he said, it was just like a whole village to raise a child. And everybody looked out for one another. And back to the textbook, Connie Pritchett worked at the courthouse when all the new books came in for the county. And he said he would get so upset because the other schools got the new textbook and he knew we was gonna get all their old used textbooks. But they stress education. Yeah, I went to college. I attended Kentucky State, and I had some tragedy in my family, and I didn't want to say. But I ended up. I went to Kentucky State. I went 2 years in Paducah, and then I went a semester at Kentucky Wesleyan. So I was all over the place. Well, at least I went. And I was gonna tell you this. When I was in Owensboro going to Kentucky Wesleyan, and at the time, a friend of mine said, you know what? We was out for the semester break. They said, GE is hiring. And I said, they are? She said, I tell you what, let's go put an application in during the semester break. I said, okay. We put an application in and we got hired at GE that quick. So when I called Dad, I had to call my dad. I said, Daddy, I'm going to work at GE. He said, going to work at GE? I said, yes. Well, what about college? I said, Daddy, I'm going to go night school. But I did go night school for a while. So I went several colleges. So I didn't graduate, but I went. So, I got an education. So. And I thank the Lord for my parents and my grandparents and all the others, in the county and in the school system, because like I said, they stress, first of all, you learn about, you got your Christian education. That's where you got your foundation. They made sure you had a foundation with God. And we went to Sunday school and we went to church, and it wasn't like, okay, do you want to go to Sunday school? They didn't ask you. We knew. That was a part of life. Getting up every Sunday morning, going to Sunday school and church. And it's not like today when you ask, oh, do you want to go to Sunday school today? Well, a kid might say, oh, no, I don't want to go. But they make sure they go to school on Mondays. But that's, and I'm proud of my Christian foundation that I got at Browder Chapel Baptist Church in Browder, Kentucky.
I have so much to tell you. I don't even know where to start. Now, you all would be in tears if a one-line telephone was in your home now. We had maybe one phone in a community. And it was, everybody would listen to what you had to say. And now you go in a house, everybody's got a phone. But we came up.
I still got the phone, the old timey phone. We had one back in the day.
You still get?
3 rings, you pick it up. Yeah, we on black thing on the whole road. We live out there on the real road. All the white women, everything you say, and then they hang up.
Well, I still talk on the house phone. I'm old school, I still talk on it. But one last thing I want to share with you about our country education. And this was one of the first things I wrote. And the reason I wrote it is when I took an entrance exam at Kentucky State, I did not pass comprehension English. I had to go into remedial English, and it made me mad.
All right.
And for something to make you mad, and you do something about it, and that's what I did. I decided, okay, I'm too dumb to pass this test, but I'm smart enough to do this. So I wrote this poem, and I dedicated it to the school, and it's called My Country Education. My country education creates a new revelation. Legible penmanship was taught, all while I was learning 0 minus 0 equals naught. Books and equipment were decades behind. These conditions force us to use our entire minds. No TVs, movies once a week, no bad influences kept us meek. A 4-room high school taught us well, prepared us as leaders to help blaze the trail. The Lord's Prayer was part of our daily ritual. It shaped our lives and made us spiritual. We listened, we learned, we admired our teachers, we became professionals, parents, preachers, and teachers. The school's effort was not in vain. They did reach us. Indelible marks we'll leave behind, hoping we've challenged today's youth minds. Yes, it took a village to raise us to be smart. Our morals and learning all came from the heart. This was dedicated to Drakesboro Community High School. And a 4-room high school provided 417 graduates a chance to brighten the world. We invite you to look at our walls. Look at where we started from and look where we are. We started from a meek 4-room school and we made it all the way to Washington, D.C. in civil service, in private service, in public service, the medical department, the spiritual department all around. Reverend Otis was one of my schoolmates. His sister was a schoolmate. Well, it was a whole trail of them too, so we were all classmates. But as a Reynolds family, it was a bunch of us. I had one born the year I graduated high school, new sister. The year I graduated college, a new sister. So I'm that much older than they are. They don't listen to me, but I don't care. I'm still smarter than they are. So that's all I have to say.
When she's speaking about the telephones, yeah, you was on party line. I still remember my telephone number. Our number was 3361, and the person down the road, theirs was 3362. And sometimes, you know, you pick up the phone, and they'd be on the phone.
Talking about
Talking. No, and Mama said, get off of that phone. And you keep wanting to talk on the phone, but the person on your party line, they still be on there talking. You remember?
I do, we had a party line too.
Yeah, party line. I still remember the number, 3361. You don't remember your number? I still remember my number.
You all talked about graduating from high school. One of the questions that we wanted to ask is, when you graduated, what was something that you had dreamed about accomplishing?
My dream back then was, I had been to Tennessee State University for a meeting. I was the new homemakers of America's state president, and our national meeting was going to be at Tennessee State University. So I went down there for a week, and my desire was, I want to, go to Tennessee State. So, but I had sent in my application and all of that, and I hadn't heard from it at the time. And some of them said, well, why don't you go to Kentucky State? But my heart was at Tennessee State, but I went ahead and sent in my application and my room deposit and all of that. So by the time I got accepted at Kentucky State, I got accepted at Tennessee State. So I had to go ahead and go to Kentucky State. But my desire was to go to Tennessee State University at the time. But
well, my desire was to make a difference. They sing the song, if I could write my own life story, what would I say?
all right.
No, you wait till you're dead and somebody says whatever they want to about you. But it's important that you write your own life story. You have a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell. That's my sister. Where's my daughter? They're here from another town too, so I've been wonderfully blessed. But just think about writing your own life story. Don't let everything that's said about you somebody else would have to say it. Because they might not be as nice to you as you are to yourself. When this young gentleman talked about being whipped from one end of the street to the other, that's what happened to all of us. If you were bad at school, they started beating you on this end of town. And by the time you get home, you were whipped. Everybody, and then you got another one for being bad. And it helped shape our lives. And it's made a difference. We didn't have to visit prisons because we were beaten and shamed while we were growing up. Here, come in.
When I finished high school,
That's my daughter, Shireen.
Hey, y'all.
One daughter, 3 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren
I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do. I followed my sister to West Kentucky Vocational School in Paducah, majored in electricity, graduated in the top of my class, and after that, I was about to be drafted into the Army, joined the Air Force, and I got a skill in the Air Force, and came out, and they weren't hiring in my particular field, so I came home, went to work at General Electric. My parents' health wasn't what it used to be, so I decided to come back home. I had no intentions of coming back. I had an offer in Dallas, Texas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, different places, and I ended up back in Muhlenberg County, and I don't regret that at all. I think it was ordained for me to get back here. But as far as people saying, well, I wanted to be this or I wanted to be that, that wasn't my thinking along that. But I ended up working for Kentucky Utilities, if any of you know about that company. Ended up being there for 38 years, retired at 62, and I've been enjoying retirement ever since. So I was fortunate that things worked out for me without a lot of effort into it. The only thing I had was just the training and the encouragement from people that I knew growing up, my parents, people at Drakesboro Community School and Drakesboro High School. Because when I was growing up, my principal at Drakesboro was a childhood friend of my dad. And so we had kept an eye out for us kids. So Drakesboro, we had a seamless transition in the integration, probably because a lot of people knew each other. And so they looked out for us because they had known us all our lives. And things worked out okay. But as far as wanting to be anything but a grown man, that's all I want to do, just grow up.
Well, it sounds like, hearing all these stories, and for you, it probably seems like not so long ago, really, all the challenges that you faced growing up, before your schools and your communities were integrated. But then you found a lot of strength in your families, right? And your teachers, your churches, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What were some other ways that you sort of expressed yourselves, or maybe with the frustrations that you faced in your everyday life? Were there ways that you could find relief, maybe with your friends, or were there maybe what did you do for fun or recreational activities that you and your friends did together? We mentioned basketball was important, and that dancing, right, were important. Were there other activities like that that you found comfort and also enjoyment in?
We, as kids growing up, we played sports, basketball, football, baseball. During my early years, we weren't allowed to play Little League Baseball because we were black. We had it in Drakesboro at the school, but we weren't allowed to play. So we would play ourselves. We had one lady in Drakesboro who had a truck, and she would gather her children, all the children in the community. And she bought baseballs and bats and gloves, and she would load us up into her truck and carry us to the different communities in Muhlenberg County, and we would play baseball against them. There was a field just down the street here that we played. And to my knowledge, we never lost a game. Maybe that's selective memory. Her name was Grace Shelton. A lot of you people remember. She thought that if these kids, her son and us, could not play sports with the white kids, Little League and Babe Ruth League, then I will provide a way for it. And out of her own pocket, she carried us around in the community, in the county, and we played baseball until we were able to go into, play in Babe Ruth League, American Legion baseball, and until we integrated the schools, and then we were able to play. But when I was coming, you couldn't play Little League baseball.
I want to ask a question. How many of you have ever been to Beach Bend Park? Have y'all been to Beach Bend? Okay, when we came along, it only cost a dime, 10 cents to go to Beach Bend Park. But we couldn't go. We were, the black kids couldn't go to Beach Bend. I don't care how many dimes we had back then. Our dimes weren't good enough to go to Beach Bend Park. And in Bowling Green, not when we was young. When we was young, we couldn't go. You can go now, but when we was young, we couldn't. You couldn't go to Beach Bend. You will. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Were there other places that y'all would gather, or?
Well, back then you had to make your own fun. Back then, your parents would tell you, go outside and find something to do. So, we go outside, we play ball, we probably made our own little baseball out of paper and electrical tape. You made your ball, and we just played. We had ball, we played ball, we jumped rope, we played hopscotch, we played Little Sally Walker, and you send a kid outside now and say, find something to do. They would literally go outside and just sit. They couldn't find nothing to do. But we had to make our fun, and like we said, group of us, we get to play ball, back then, do you remember the movie theaters in Central City?
It was a dime.
But did you go through the front door? How did we go? We had to walk up the alley, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, they had a theater here in Central City, but we couldn't go through the front door.
No.
We had to go up through the alley to the movie and sat in the balcony.
Sit about.
Yeah, we sat in the
Greenville
balcony.
too.
Yeah, in the balcony.
Palace Theater.
Uh-huh.
You bought
But-
your
yeah.
ticket out front, you got your popcorn and your drink, and you went upstairs. You sat upstairs.
And not only that, in Paducah, because I lived in Paducah, you had to go up the alley in Paducah to go to the movie theater. You couldn't go through the front.
One thing I remember in the 60s, there was a place set aside at Kentucky Lake for black people. And it was a nice beach area, and I remember my parents used to go down there on a picnic. And I can't remember what administration in Kentucky was governor, but they designated a place at Kentucky Lake. I don't know if anybody else, I'm sure you can look that up and find it. And it was set aside just for black people.
I knew it.
And the other places down there, was it Cherokee Park?
Cherokee Park
I
was the name
couldn't
of it.
remember
Yeah,
that,
Cherokee
but I was
Park.
like a really small kid.
Because
But
excuse me.
that shows you to what extent segregation was. To create a beach area, or resort area, or recreation area just for black people only. But, we accepted it, and, it was nice down there, nice beach, and they kept it up. But that was, I remember that, I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old.
I got one more thing. We're not here to put you in mind that we walked on earth while the dinosaurs were here. Some of it we might have, but you have to leave a path of where you've been and who you are. You know, to be born and to be buried, that's going to happen to everybody. But what do you do between birth and death? You don't read the Bible and find out you're going to get an inheritance from your people and come home with a shotgun and blow their heads off. You don't do that. So most people can tell you where that is in the Bible, but they can't tell you where the 10 Commandments are and the laws and rules that you should follow. But they tell you how to blow somebody's head off to get their estate. So we're sharing information that you should be able to pass on. Make the world a better place. It's hard enough to live in it the way we're living in it now. We are seeing some terrible times right now. And it can only get worse with attitudes. We have to get closer to God and what He means to us. So, thanks to you, Reverend, for keeping us spiritual.
Dr. Stevenson asked about what was your dreams, aspirations. One of the things with segregation that limited the vision that you had, you didn't have the role models. And I had that rare experience with living here. My parents died at 10, then I moved to Louisville. We lived in an integrated area where that you had role models from doctors to dentists to, I was talking about Dr. King, black veterinarian. And then as a paper boy in an integrated society, you get to see all these people doing these different things. And so somebody asked me, at 12 years old, what do you want to do? I wanted to be like Mr. Simpson, my manager, that wore the suit and the tie and all those things. And one of the things that hurt us, and still there's some lingering things there, and we've tried to address it, is to help people to dream and to look beyond what they see and experience. And the reality is, from Carolyn, when I came here, she was fresh out of school, to say, look, there's a whole lot of things out there that you are qualified for. Just because you haven't seen it, you can do it. And yeah, the Divine Library helps us to know that we're not the only ones that have gone through what we call segregation or slavery, but people have what we call a vision to see beyond. And I like that poem, The Eyes of the Future, looking back at you and praying for you to see. And so we have to teach, and I think Ms. Smith and all those that come before us was trying to teach us to dream. And my brother always said, you know, we could read our way out of these limited models that are in our society. And that's what Monty and those that called it. Everybody's not gonna cross, but it's our responsibility, like with Roger, his dad, going to the military, being able to say, hey, look. And you know, then you look at the history, and when we talk about it, and I just listen to Roger, when they couldn't play in the Little League, when I arrived here, the Moppins down here, Brother Moppins shared that Hank Aaron stayed at their house because of the Negro League that came and played in Central City Park down here. And I always tell Brother Moppin, man, we missed it because Hank Aaron stayed at their house because, you know, segregation. But he told them, said, I'm going to the big league. I always told Brother Moppin, said, boy, if you just got a signature, man, we'd all been in the league. So the collective sum of all of our experiences in the segregated community, but then we get to reach out and then we get to dream big. And so we can say to the young people that in Muhlenberg County now, hey guys, you can become anything. And it's not trite, but it's true. When President Obama became president, so hey. So then we look at Sister Brittney here, because she grew up with my daughter, that she can be president of Muhlenberg Community College, which the president of the college is Dr. Judith Rhodes, which was a great friend that grew up right down here in Central City. That when I arrived, she's president of the college. So we just simply say, hey, it really doesn't make any difference. Once we get this vision to see beyond, that there are mentors that will blaze the trail for us. And so that's what we had to break out of that segregated, limited, by the rules of society. Say, hey, but we see something beyond that. And so we still have to cast a vision. Understanding that with this group, we don't discount what we had to go through. Amen. But we don't let it stop there. And so it's exciting to look at, and I try to portray it from the positive. Yeah, it was difficult. My grandmother that lived here and grew up here, she'd often say to us, she'd say, if I was a white man, I would have been wow, just whatever. But she also instilled in us that is not to limit you. That was us. All the rules, everything said no. Because she said, you keep working on it and you can get there. And so I think that's what we have to connect with where we have been. There were people in our community, like Miss Leslie and whoever. Let me just throw this in parenthetically. Miss Minnie K. Render was one of the teachers here. And we had a conversation, Roger was a part of it, with Mark Stone's brother, was writing a history of Muhlenberg County. We came together, we met with him, and he shared with us that, he said, do you know why integration didn't happen here in Muhlenberg County as early as it did in other parts? He said because of Miss Minnie K. Render. She was educated here, and he said that the superintendent of the Kentucky school said that she met with them in Frankfurt, and she was lobbying for when they integrated, that the administrators and the segregated society would have a position when they integrated. And she said they went back and forth, and he said that little tenacious old woman. And that held up everything, and that's my hero, that she said, yeah, we teach her, but we also administrate it. She fought it, guess what? She lost the battle, but that little sister hung on in there. And now, guess what? Look up here. That's an administrator. We're standing on the shoulders of little sister said, yeah, we got teachers, but we got administrators. When we integrate, we ought to have some of those people that come in as administrators into the Muhlenberg County society.
That's a wonderful insight, Reverend Cunningham, and I think, hearing all these stories and putting together that idea of having a vision or a dream that you hold on to move beyond, where you are. I thought this might be a good time to move into more recent history, and if we could ask Dr. Hernandez-Stevenson about some recent events, namely the Black Lives Rally that happened in Greenville. And could you walk us through that? Tell us about how it was organized, and partners that you worked with, and the results of that event.
Yeah. Yes, I can talk a little bit about it. It's actually interesting because when you hear this all happened back in 2020, after everything happened with Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and you would think that a group of black people got together to try and rally or have a peaceful protest to make sure that attention's brought to the community, but that wasn't the case at all. It was actually a young girl, she's white, and for her birthday, it may have been her 21st birthday, she said, I want to do something in the community to bring awareness, make change, and she put together the Black Lives Rally that we had. First of its kind in Muhlenberg County. I think there have been different rallies and things held by the KKK throughout history, not that I know of since I've been here, but in the past. And so there were a lot of people that were like, why are you wanting to do this? Or I can't understand why she's doing this. You know, we don't have these types of problems here in Muhlenberg County, so why bring attention to it? And it's just to cause chaos and blah, 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 blah. And I know I was in a group of people that were saying things like this, and being the only black person in the room, I said, this does exist here.
Oh, yeah.
It's real. You don't see it because you're not black. You don't experience it. And so it opened a lot of people's eyes in that moment, in that group, and people were more receptive to the idea. And so when we held the event, as far as partners go, I know they got with the police department. There were several police officers that were out there, several community members, probably over 200 people came and supported, had posters. I was one of the speakers. There were, I think, 3 or 4 of my pastors spoke, and a few others. But we just talked about, you know, trying to be united, trying to come together to support one another, trying to bring about change in the community. So it was a great event, especially for it to be the first one held here. I can't really think of any other partners. At the time, we didn't have our NAACP chapter. It had been inactive for about 14 years, I believe. And so that's kind of what led to us reactivating that. I'm also the president for the NAACP chapter here.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we had just, with my position at the college and everything, I didn't want to post it, so I had one of my friends post and say, hey, you know, I think this would be a good time to get the NAACP chapter started. And so that's when we started communicating. Miss Diane Gregory, who's here, she's our treasurer, but she had been the one that had been filing the paperwork over the years, keeping the chapter afloat, I guess you could say, so that we didn't have to start all over. But that's before I even talk about what we're doing now with NAACP. I would like to hear your all's experiences with NAACP in the county, and Ms. Diane, anybody else that was a member of the chapter prior to us reactivating it. I'd love to hear about NAACP from the past, and then I can pick back up and we can talk about what we're doing now and where we're going forward. So if any of you have any experience, or if you want to talk, or anybody else. Oh, yes, you said, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Come on. I love y'all.
Okay, I guess we'll just move forward with that one. So now, we started back up in 2020 with NAACP, and I know when we did get started, I remember seeing a comment on Facebook, why don't we look at getting an organization where all people are welcome? Doing something for all community members. I said NAACP isn't just for black people. You know, NAACP wasn't started just by black people, and it's gonna take all of us for people to realize that people of color matter, that their lives are just as important as anyone else's. And so our chapter, our first year, what do we have, 80 some odd members? 86 members, and we started up in June. They told us that we needed to get 50, and we ended up with 86 our first year. So that just shows, and it wasn't just all black people, that just shows you that people are willing to come together, willing to support one another when they believe in a cause. And we've been very, very active in the community. Last year, we actually received the Community Organization of the Year Award from the Chamber of Commerce, just because of the work that we've done. Last year, we held a back-to-school bash for the community. We had all of the family resource coordinators from the schools participate, and so we had hundreds of people, over 600 people, I think, attended the event. It was the first one that they've had, first one that we've hosted, but the first big event like that, as far as back to school goes, that they've had in several years. We volunteer in the community. This year we were able to have our Freedom Fund banquet. So if you are familiar with the local NAACPs in your communities, our annual fundraiser is Freedom Fund banquet, and we were able to hold our first one in a long time this year. And it was a phenomenal event. We've done things for Black History Month. We do something called African American Read-In. We held our second one this year. And it's just been a great opportunity for us to get out in the community, volunteer, work with other organizations. Ms. Vicki Yonts with SOAR that you all heard from last night. We've partnered with them. We've helped with several of their events. Several different things in the community people will contact us for, to just get out and participate, because we want people to know that we're here to serve, we're here to help. We're here to bring the community together. We just met with the superintendents and the principals to try and get more training for our teachers and staff in the schools, because we know that it's very, very important. In order for them to work with our kids, they have to understand our kids, and there is definitely a lack of that. So we wanted to bring attention to the principals on that subject. And so I'm hoping that it'll be a lot of positive moving forward. We look forward to more community engagement and opportunities. Like I said, just to show that we're here to help, we're not here to hurt. But if you're trying to hurt us, we will come for you.
Hey!
We will come for you.
Brittney, could you talk about your decision to run for state representative? What inspired that?
That's a great question. So I have worked at the college for 10 years now. I was working in Madisonville in 2018. My provost asked me to become the director over the campus here in Muhlenberg County. I didn't know what I was doing that for, and so I just kind of came. For me, it's all been a God thing. That's the best way for me to describe it, and I'm kind of starting there to get to where I'm at now. But I've been here since 2018, and I was asked to get involved in the community. So that's when I joined Rotary, and from there, and participated in the Chamber of Commerce, attended because the college is part of that. So I've just kind of started getting involved more and more and more. And as time went on, it's like I've almost become overwhelmed, because I'm always out, always doing something. And I remember last year, I was just like, why am I doing this? I was sitting with a colleague, I was like, I promise you, I have never in my life been this involved or this busy. You know, I'm always doing stuff, but never to this extent. And I was like, I don't understand why I'm doing it. My plan was, when I got my doctorate degree, I was leaving Muhlenberg County. I was like, it's either gonna be a husband or a job that's gonna get me out of here. I didn't know which one was coming first, but I had no plans of staying here. And then I was asked to join the board of directors for the chamber in 2021. Last year was my first year as a member of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. And when I was asked to join, I said yes initially, and then I was told it was a 3-year term, and I was like, okay, God, you got me here for 3 more years. I don't know what it's for or why I'm doing it, but I realize now He was setting me up for this moment. He was preparing me to get to where I'm at today. I couldn't understand it, didn't know why I did it. I defended my dissertation on October 18th. On October 22nd, I was asked to run for state representative. Mind you, I have never been a politician. I have never dreamed about being in politics. I have been as far removed from politics, well, at least I thought. I'm starting to see that my life is really connected with politics a lot more than we realize. But it was not a dream of mine, not something I wanted to do. I told them from October 22nd until January 3rd, no. I said, I'm not doing it. The last 4 years of my life have been, or my daughter's life, she hasn't had me around. So I want to spend this next year with her, you know, for us to do things, kind of get reconnected, just because I've been so busy with my doctorate. And we were in the car after a dinner, and she said, I think you should do it. Mind you, my daughter was with me last night. She's 12. And when she said it, it's like, just something in her voice, I felt like God was that was the message that I needed. And so I decided to go ahead and run for state representative. And I'm starting to realize, like I told you last night, more people in this community need to see people of color in positions like this. Whether I win or not, I will win. Okay, don't get it twisted, I will win. But if I don't, I hope that people will see that they have that opportunity to be in this position, that they can do what I'm doing, so that, you know, the possibilities are endless. Just like Reverend Cunningham was saying, there are so many more opportunities, and even though we don't see people in positions like this, we do have that chance to make a difference. So that's my goal. That's the reason that I'm running. I'm not running for me. I'm running for the people. I'm running for young people, for minorities, for women, just so that I can be, my quote is, be the change you wish to see, be the vision that, no, be the change you wish to see in the world, but it's just the letter B since my name is Brittney. Be the voice and be the vision, because that's what I hope to be, and that's what I hope that others will be as well.
I'll put a t-shirt on.
Nancy has on my t-shirt. I was so
Be there for the seniors too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For everybody.
That's wonderful, Brittney. Thank you for putting the perspective on the present. And I was, could we hear from the other panelists now about kind of what connections do you see between all your, your lifelong memories and the subjects we talked about, or maybe some of the things we didn't talk about? What do you see about this place connecting your past, your present, and maybe your future as well? And that could be anything from your family's experiences, your challenges that you've overcome, or maybe something unique about Muhlenberg County.
No one's gonna say anything, I guess I will. For one thing, Muhlenberg County is a lot better than it used to be. I can remember growing up, the disadvantages that we have are no longer there. And I just hope that young people like Brittney will take advantage of the opportunities that are here now that we didn't have. And there's no room for excuses. Like we used to make excuses. We used to say, I remember Reverend Cunningham, I remember this, the man that's holding us back. There's no longer that. The man's not holding us back. We are holding ourselves back. The opportunities are there, and those are things that our teachers and community, our parents express to us. You have the opportunity, so take advantage of it. My mother used to say, failure to plan is planning to fail. So that's a good analogy of what your life should be. So we have every opportunity now. Let's take advantage of it and get in behind those who are going to try to make a change and make a difference in all of our lives, because we didn't always have the opportunities that we have now. And that's what my dad used to stress to me. He wouldn't let me make excuses. And I tried to instill that in my daughter, not to make any excuses, because that's just a cop-out. Hard work will accomplish a lot of things if you're willing to put in the time and the effort. So the opportunities now are great for young people. If they would just go ahead and do their due diligence, whatever it requires to get to that point that you want to be, then you should go ahead and go for it.
Because nowadays it's no excuse for young people not to go to college. Not, if you don't want to go to college, go to a trade school, but do something, because the opportunity is great for young people, and take advantage of it. If you don't have a plan for your life, someone else will plan it for you. So just take, and I see here in Muhlenberg County, we've had so many young people that has come through Ebenezer, and Muhlenberg County has gone to college and made great strides. But you know what? Most of them don't come back to Muhlenberg County because there's nothing here for young people. But if you want to get an education, get your education or whatever, and go someplace else. But the opportunity is great. We didn't have all these opportunities when we came along. There was no such thing as all of these grants that kids get, and all the Pell grants, and all the scholarships that's out there. They weren't available to us. But nowadays, kids don't have no excuse for not taking advantage of being something in their lives. Don't just stand on the corner. Just get your education, because it's out there if you want it. You can achieve it, but you have to believe it.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to save a few minutes toward the end here to collect questions from the audience. But before we do that, remember that many of the folks in the room here today are not from Muhlenberg County. So I want to ask each of you, what do you want us to understand and to remember and to tell other people about you and your place when we go back?
Well, the main thing is that you can make a difference. The difference can be good or the difference can be bad. Write your own life story. Don't let anybody else write it for you. Because it's subject to change. It will change. If you have lived and worked in states with people everywhere, then you'll have a different education everywhere you go. The University of Hard Knocks will teach you more than anything you learn in a classroom. Believe that, because people change. They do what they want to. Mental health has changed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we're living by now, is mental health. And it's messed up, really messed up. Keep spirituality in your lives, because you're gonna need that from birth to death and beyond. And just believe in yourself. You can pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Sometimes I have to use my reacher to find my strap to pull on, but I find it. So believe in yourself. You have the last word.
Could I say this, Mark?
Sir? Yep.
Muhlenberg County has a history of everybody staying in their lane, staying in it. That was one thing when I came back. It's difficult. And what we have to do is continue to work on changing other minds. It's, as a resident, working in the school system, administrators, we always talk, we need more African American teachers. I always say, well, what about administrators? What about, I got to work one year out at the TVA. I came back and I said, the most quiet kept secret is the 4th floor at Muhlenberg at TVA. That's where all the administration. I didn't see any African Americans. We got to change the mind of everything that we've said. It's a think of beyond what we see, and that is what we have to understand in Muhlenberg County as we continue to go forward. We have been blessed with individuals, but we need more individuals that see beyond and not just wanting a job, but being a part of the creation. Because what we're doing here in Muhlenberg County, collectively and with the minority community, is that we'll die if we do not have some creative energy to come into this project. All those young people that have graduated from college, and most of them at this little church here, 75% of them not only gone to college, but they've graduated. But I can count on the 30 plus years I've been here on this one hand at those that have come back. And I encourage them to go. But if we are going to survive, we're going to have to sell our community. We have something for our young people, and that something has to be us modernizing and creating that environment here that will attract them to come back, like the 12-year-old daughter, those individuals. So we have a lot of work to do in Muhlenberg County that would allow all of us to get rid of some of the limited labels that we've placed on, so that we can have all of this diversity working together. And I always point to the sports. We've done it. We just lost a legend in Reggie. That and the thing about Reggie, I'll talk about him tomorrow, is that he was not a superstar, but he was an individual that had stardom on his life and took that opportunity to let it shine. The thing that Reggie always said to me, and and I did not know him as a youth. I met him when he came back here as a coach. And the most important thing that he had, that he'd always talk about, that his dad told him, you go to UK, don't go up there and get nobody pregnant, and you better not come back here until you graduate. And the thing that he loved to talk about, he never talked about his average on the court. He said, I was the first African American to participate in sports at the University of Kentucky and to graduate. And then the last thing that he said, after he got his master's, we was working together at the school, and he said to me as he just passing, but he had finished, he got his master's after he came back, and he said, preacher, that's where he always from. He said, it's in the books. And Roger, just for the eulogy I did with him, it said, he's now in the book of life. But he recognized that you have to have preparation in order to seize the opportunity to be able to have an element of success. That's what we've got to remind our young people, that we have not arrived.
Yes, sir.
But we have got to continue to prepare so that we can seize the opportunity, so that we can have, listen to this, that undefined success is waiting for us.
Thank you, Reverend. That sounds right in line with a lot of rural-urban exchange priorities. Sounds familiar to me. And I wanted to give you all a chance to any other ideas, topics, values that you want non-Muhlenberg Countyans to remember about you and your story, the stories we're hearing today.
Well, I'd just like for them to remember that I've lived off and on in this county ever since I graduated from high school. I lived in Paducah, I lived in Owensboro, and I finally settled down back in Central City. But I would just like you to know, wherever you go, whatever you do, we have to put God first in our lives, because without Him, we will fail. And that's been such a part of my life. It's not, I've had struggles, I've had trials, and, I've had tragedies and things, but through it all, God has brought me through it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mama.
Anything that you try to accomplish in life is going to be difficult, but you have to persevere. You have to stick to it. A lot of times you'll want to give up. Reggie and I were friends. I've known him since he was a child, and there were times he wanted to give up, but his parents, I remember once he told me his mother told his mother he was gonna quit. She said, no, you're not. She sent him back, and you see what happened to his story. So I'm sure sometimes we all want to give up, but we have to keep going, keep pushing forward. The things in life that are worth having are worth working for. And so that's how, I try to encourage people that I talk to, young people, to just stick to it and keep plugging. Eventually, you'll get there. But it is a struggle. Like Helena says, we all have religious backgrounds, and that's some of the things that keeps us going. I know it has been with me. I was raised in the church, and when all else fails, you can fall back on your spiritual background, and that will definitely get you through. And I'm a witness to that. But it is a struggle.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you want to give up, but you can always lean back on your experiences, both spiritual and mental experiences, and persevere and keep going.
I'll just say empowered people empower people.
Oh, yeah.
Muhlenberg County is full of a lot of amazing people, but the Black community is one of a kind. We stand behind one another. You know pretty much everyone in the community. I couldn't tell you the people in this room, even though we all go to different churches, but I've attended a lot of different events and things from the different churches and in the different communities, but we still come together as one. The support that I have received growing up from the people in this room is unbelievable. So the one thing I guess I want you to remember is that Muhlenberg County, like they said, rural black excellence, like it just makes, I don't know, it just makes me feel some type of way when I hear it, because that's exactly what it is. A lot of amazing people trying to support and uplift the community, and it's just great. They definitely empower people.
Okay, we had about 15 minutes before lunch will be served by Miss Janice Harm. Janice, could you raise your hand, by the way? There she is. I'd like to thank her and members of the community for preparing our lunch. But before that, we got just a few minutes to ask questions to our panelists here. So raise your hand if you've got a question about something you've heard today, or maybe something that you haven't heard about that you'd like to know more. Yeah, let's go. Right here in the front.
So you are talking about how people are getting educations, college educations, and leaving the community. Are there any things being done, like by the church or by the community at large, or by the Chamber of Commerce, or anything to retain some of that black excellence that seems to be leaving the community?
I guess I know we do have a lot of discussions with Chamber and just within the community, especially with me being at the community college, trying to bring jobs back into the county. Because I know that's one of the big issues is people feel there aren't well-paying jobs or jobs with livable wages. So there are a lot of discussions of us trying to do that and trying to get more black people out in the community so that we do have a presence, will be more encouraging and get people to come back home. Because I'll tell you, like I said, my plan was to leave. Like I didn't feel like there was anything here, but being part of the leadership program that I was part of, and then I was telling you about the new one that we have now, it's given me hope and it's given me a reason to stay in the community. So I think the more that we get more of us involved and out and about, the more we can recruit people and encourage people to stay. So there are a few things being done, but I think that there is more work to be done, and I think that us doing more with the churches will be beneficial too.
It's similar area of, cause I've heard a lot of you talk about how you had no intention of staying here, or when you left, you had no intention of coming back. And I guess the other side of the, the structure of the community coin is the culture and the personal connection to the place. And I'm wondering when you all think about, you mentioned you went to Paducah, you've lived all over, you wanted to go to Tennessee State, and you've remained here. And I don't know, I'm just curious, when you think about your decision, whether it was intentional or thought out or seemingly, arbitrary or whatever, what is it that really keeps you? What grounds you? I know you mentioned spirituality, but
The people.
what's your
Speaking about, you said I lived different places. Yes, I have lived in, different places, but I just always felt a connection to come back to Muhlenberg County. And I guess because, I still had family here in a small area. I raised my children here in this area. I had an opportunity on one of my jobs to go to Ohio. But because my youngest son was 9 years old, I turned down the job because I wanted him to stay in a small county, a small city. I didn't think he was ready to be going to a larger city. So I sacrificed a job just to stay here in Central City where my son could attend grade school and be with his family, with his friends.
I'm sorry, I think it's not easy being a black person in Kentucky, whether it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes. I'm wondering, a lot of times some of the reason that folks leave, and we've talked about mental health, what the toll that it can take being black in rural areas. what, I don't know, I'm just trying to think about, because I know you've thought about all these things, and I don't know, I'm just trying to find some grounding, and sometimes it's like, it would be easier to live in a bigger, you know what I mean, like, even in Louisville, so, I don't know.
Mine was raising my daughter here as well. That's one of the things for me is, it's just my parents here, where it was my sister just moved here, now she's about to go out of state to work too, but, just a great place to raise my daughter. I don't have to worry about much, kind of a way, I guess, to shelter her, which I'm learning that's not really true, but, you know, it's a great community. The people are great. I would have to say probably the people, because I had even applied for a job in Louisville, and even when I applied, I went for the interview for the experience, but I said I wasn't leaving. So it's just something about the community and the people here.
Could I just insert, I came back here 30 years ago. Of course, I felt the Lord told me to come. And I told him when I came, I'd stay here 2 years. My sons were from middle school. Great asset here, they kept us here. The people that are here always say that our greatest asset is our natural resources, our children. And so there's been this hole in helping sow seeds of significance in young people, and of course self-gratification is seeing them grow and go, and it just keeps like seasonal. It's another season for another group that and they just keep getting better. And so in this time frame that we've been here, we can just point to individuals that have grown. And I tell them now, it's selfish. I've got internists that have come out of here, CPAs, and all these people that now that I'm in Sister Sonya's zone of all these individuals that have gone and are growing, that we've invested in, and now we need them to give us some resources back. But what's kept us here is that we feel the potential because of the great people. You know, it's just beautiful to experience. We could talk about the first group of people that came through that were recipient of the Commonwealth Diploma at North, and then how that they have gone on, and we have them all over the map. And so we just keep on just saying, okay, here's another one, here's another one. And I left a career in Louisville to come here, and it's just been a joy. But you know, with the pain that comes with it, I mean, but it's a blessing. And so I think that's what connects us with the rest of the Commonwealth. We just have some great people that have been given the opportunity to serve, is to help those people to discover and to develop into some of the most dynamic people that are just assigned at various places. So that's what keeps us here.
I came back because mainly of family, my parents, and looking out for them. And I eventually got married. My wife's family took here, so that kept me here to help take care of her family, my family. And Muhlenberg County is a good place to grow up. It's a good place to live. You don't experience all of the things that the big cities have, the detrimental things. And so I thought about leaving at one point in time, but I ended up staying here. And over the years, I believe that was probably the best thing for me because of the people. It's really great people in Muhlenberg County. And you can go to them for help if you need help, if you need advice, and people still look out for you the way they did when I was a kid growing up. You still got that village mentality, regardless of whether you're in Central City or Drakesboro or Greenville. If people know you, they'll look out for you.
We had a question over here, yes?
A lot about the white youth history of Muhlenberg County. Can you tell us about the black youth history of Muhlenberg County, whether it's a marching band or a soloist or an ensemble? Musical? Yes.
Just to repeat the question so y'all can hear, we've all heard about, a lot about the white music history of Muhlenberg County, but we want to hear more about the black music history of this place. Can you talk about that?
It's talking about bands,
Bands, singers,
marching bands.
musicians, marching bands.
Oh, no, at Drakesboro Community, honey, we did not have a marching band. We weren't able to have a band. We had basketball and glee clubs. That's some of our organization. We had a glee club where, you could sing. And we had a New Homemakers of America. That was the girls' organization. And we had our newspaper. Yeah, we had our own newspaper that we printed. So, at basketball, because back then it wasn't any girls' basketball, so it's just only boys' basketball. We had a JV team and a varsity team. So no, we did not have a band. We did not have yearbooks, but we did, had our pictures made once a year. So those were, but we always had plays, we had programs. And it just, and every year you had homecoming queens, and matter of fact, one year I was homecoming queen.
Our gospel singers, and my wife here has been recording artists and sang with Governor Frazier, singing for Kentucky, and that's on KET. She recorded something, and we sang with the Mary State Band, and she's recorded. As far as like in comparison with the Everly Brothers, which are friends of ours, but we haven't had any one of that in the rarity that I know of that have risen out of. I knew in Ohio County, the group that the Everly Brothers and the picture, they talk about that over in Butler County, when Mother Mitty was over there. But as far as gospel singers, Jan is, Thomas Cunningham has recorded and has been one that has really done a lot just through the music ministry within the church community, our spiritual community, that have done a lot of connecting with different people. But and that's been a blessing. And that's been a blessing. We just had a fire in our home on the 22nd of April, and because of the fact that she has just sung all over the county, we have just been amazed at the number of people that have just poured resources into. So we haven't had the status of being #1 in the gospel on the chart, but in the community, this lady here has been a tremendous missionary and connector of all the different. Broke down all the different. We have so many different barriers with our denominational labels, but this sister's broken them down. She get in there and get to sing, and they forget where they're at.
I'm just so glad that God chooses and uses ordinary people. Yes, I wouldn't be anywhere. I was proud to have it. Don't know how I got there. I went to my daughter's high school, and they asked me to sing the national anthem. And I'm usually in the alto, and I went on, sing. And so the Murray State Band Orchestra that during that time heard me. And so I got a chance to sing. So I have something I want you to do. And I think it was all God. And I sang 5 hymns for the government sure his banquet during that year. And I really thank God for that. For the last 20 years, this great shepherd, when he spoke about brought the community together for little kids. She and I, another man in that area, came together. And for the last 20 years, we organized a group called the Band Choir. And there were churches all over the area. And it's just I'm just been honored just to hold on to a great soul, Lord. I've been honored to sing His glory.
All right.
Can I say one thing, to address your question? A lot of black people were involved in musical things in Muhlenberg County and in Ohio County, but they were not recognized. There were singers. If you look up in Muhlenberg, Ohio County history, there was a gentleman by the name of Arnold Schultz.
That's right.
And he taught a lot of those musicians. He played guitar. He played for all kinds of venues, all kinds of activities, but he wasn't recognized, except maybe locally in Ohio County, of being one that really taught the music. So there was influences, but they were kept in the background, and the people took credit and didn't give credit to the ones who really taught.
Get the picture in the middle.
In Miss Grace, back in the days, you know, when y'all
give
had
me
the youth choir, had the choir at Bethel, she took a group of y'all to Channel 13.
No, it wasn't me, because I couldn't sing.
But it seemed like she took
I
a
don't
group.
remember.
I wanna present this to the Cunningham.
Might have been.
Their house burned up.
My grandmother, she took the group
I had
to
this
Bowling Green to Channel
for her.
13. She has a young group.
Oh, okay.
And with her being a Hawkins, she was actually, her husband was actually connected to the Edwin Hawkins.
Tell her to come
Center.
up here and get it. I'm gonna present
And
it
there
to
are
them.
still some relatives there in Ohio that's connected to the Hawkins Center.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now you wanna talk.
Get her, Brittney.
Ms. Cunningham, Sonya has something here. She wanted you to, if you could come up.
Oh, really?
I told you guys I was a pack rat. Now I'm gonna prove it to you. This happened in 2017. I made this for Miss Cunningham. And since the travesty that they've had in their lives, I want to present this to her for your new home.
Thank you so much.
It's got your name.
It's wonderful, y'all. Michael, can you ask a question?
Oh, mama. Little Collins.
Oh, God.
Well, 2 questions. Where
Go
did
ahead.
you get one of the t-shirts? And then, what has been your biggest challenge in your campaign?
I've got some t-shirts with me. Limited sizes, but if I don't have your size, I will definitely get with you and can get one sent to you. But as far as my biggest challenge, for me, it's fundraising, just because I'm not big with asking people for money. I'm one to always give. So to ask people to give to me is a challenge, and that's one of the hardest parts, I think, of the campaign. As far as being a Black person running, I've actually received a lot of support, and it's been amazing to see the number of people that have reached out and just said stuff to me, people supporting me. I had someone in Elizabethtown reach out and say, my daughter's following your campaign, you know, and those are the types of things that have been great, because it's people that are watching you that you don't realize. So I didn't have a primary, so I'm just now about to really get going, so I haven't faced some of the challenges other candidates probably will, but I'd say for me, fundraising has been the biggest challenge, but we'll see where this goes. I think it's gonna be great.
We're just a little bit over, but we have time for one more question.
Where can we donate to your campaign? My website is Dr. B for State Rep DRB and the number 4 staterep.com, and there's a link on there that you could donate. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And I want to thank the panelists here for generously sharing your life stories with us. We've learned so much from you in the time here. Let's hear it for them. And I'll await instruction from Amelia on our next steps here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I love y'all. You're watching.
Thank you all. This was an incredible experience to get to hear the stories and the sharing of knowledge. So we are going to have lunch. The wonderful chefs in the kitchen have prepared an amazing meal. I've been eyeing the desserts in the back. I'm not sure about the logistics of the best way to do this.
Brother Otis to say a blessing.
Yes.
It's,
I want to go.
Hey, Sister Janet,
Yes, sir.
come
Say
out
hi.
and, how you want to do
Come
it? She's sitting. Come on, General.